Okay, so 3.6 here, scatter plots with lines of best fit. So we're going to go definitely technology on you here, but we're also going to kind of look back at the, well, what if we can't just type it into our calculator? So here we go. The scatter plot of data is correlated negatively or positively. A function can be generated to make predictions. Now this is where math goes. The ability to make predictions. You can become a very wealthy person if you can come up with ways of predicting about with data what's going to most likely happen next. So here we go. So the following data is Jen's abs workout plan. Okay, so let's plot some data here. So let's get a little bit of a visual that we are after. And what we want to end up seeing here as we kind of put in our data, our numbers, like, listen, we're not going to draw in every single number. That's going to simply be a waste of our time. Plus, it's going to be crammed. It's going to be difficult, all those types of things. So as we look at the table up there with the days, all right, so that's going to be our days down here. We can see we're going from 1 to 17. So yeah, counting by ones gets the job done. So we got our 0 down here. So I could do like a 1, 2. I know that's 3, that's 4. There's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then get your 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then there's my 17 because that's my highest number. Yeah, that's a 7. Okay, all right, sorry. All right. And then when we look up the side there for the Y's, where we're talking about the sit-ups that we're dealing with, okay, yeah, I mean, we're going from 30 up to 250. I mean, 25s, okay. 50 seems kind of weak because that's only going to get me 5 spots. So I think 25 is a good way to go. Again, I'm not going to count the entire time. So 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250, because that's my highest amount. Okay, plot some points now. All right. We've got 130, so 1 and then so 30. Right around there. All right. 2 and then 55. There's my 2. Go up to 55. All right, somewhere around there. 5 and 75. There's the 5. 75 is going to be right there in the middle, so that's going to smack hit it. 8 and 120. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go up 100. All right. 125 is there, so we're just underneath it. All right. 9 and 145. 9 up to 145, so just under the 150. And then the last one, the 17 and the 250. There's the 17. Let's get all the way to that 250, and there we go. So definitely that positive correlation that we're looking at. So if we kind of busted out, a straight edge that was there, I guess I was expecting more regarding the straight edge that's there. Okay, never mind. All right. Let's go back to just my drawing that's here. Yeah, I mean, when we draw on these trend lines, we want to be in the middle. So we kind of want equal number dots above it and below it. And yeah, people, it's a guess. Like it's not just like cover your eyes and draw a line, but it's definitely more of, okay, let's straight path of points. And there we go, something like that. Now, I'm not in love with this. Again, it's a sketch that's there, so it's fine. But yeah, I got you a below, 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 kind of on it, above it. So, I mean, yeah, well, let's just go through it here. So is there a correlation? Of course there is. We got that positive correlation. I say of course there is because we've already declared it. All right. Let's get your calculator in hands because coming up with the equation as we saw from yesterday isn't always the best thing because it's like, well, you're right, you're kind of right, you're not close. Let's bring some talent in. So let's bring in your friend and mine, the graphing calculator. If you don't have that in front of your hands, hit the pause button and let's get that in front of you. All right. Ta-da! All right, so let's go through what you're going to do in order to get an equation. Because like I said yesterday, we were kind of like, well, it looks like there's the y-intercept, looks like there's the slope, but we want something better that's there. So what you're going to end up doing here, you can follow along with your directions that are in there. You're going to go to your stat button here. So there we are right there. All right, stat. And then you're going to go to edit. So it's the very first one. You can go ahead and hit enter. And this is where your list of data is going to be. Think of it as your x coordinates and your y coordinates. They just don't call it the x and y. They just call it the list. So yeah, let's punch in our x coordinates. So let's hit a 1. All right. Let's 2. All right. And then just hitting enter. All right. I see 5 and enter. 8, enter, 9, enter, and then 17, enter. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to arrow over and I'm going to match the numbers up. So we've got the 30, we've got the 55, we've got the 75, the 120, the 145, and then we've got the 250. All right, so there we go. I've got my list of data. I can see that they match up. All right, so now, all right, we can get out of here. So we're going to quit. So that's that second. All right. And then quit. That's there. Oops. I hit it twice. There we go. So we're back out to the main screen. And now we're going to launch a built-in program here. So we have this stat button. All right. And this is where it's going to allow us to do some statistics that are here and get some information. So go to calc. So I'm going to arrow over once to calc. And then what we're looking for here is this number 4, this lin reg. Okay, so that's for linear regression. All right, and so that's kind of a terminology that's there. Is regression means everything should kind of come back to the average. So we hear the phrase sometimes regression to the mean. So mean meaning average, and regression, we're always going to, if we get some of these outliers, we're going to kind of fall back to what's kind of normal. So ax plus b kind of looks familiar. Yeah, mx plus b. Coding wise, programming wise, they just use the a for the slope here and then the b for the y-intercept. So we're going to hit enter. Okay. Here's where we're telling it, yes, I do want you to do list 1. Yes, I do want you to use list 2. All right. So that's what we want out of it. And then you're just going to kind of hit enter, enter, and we're going to go right down to calculate. And voila. Okay, so what is that? Well, that's your A term and your B term. Now, remember, as we look at it, they're using the A to represent the slope. So we pretty much have something right around 12.9. All right, so we should have like some sort of like rounding too. So let's just say round to the nearest hundredths. So 12.91. And then we've got that B of that 3.78 that we're looking at. So yeah, we're just going to simply write that in. Now, the nice thing about this is that we can go right back to your list. So when we're looking at it, I went into stat plot there, excuse me. Let's go back to stat. Let's go back to edit. That's there. And you can always kind of match up right away. 130, okay, 255, 575, 8. Oh. So this is, yeah, you probably telling me earlier, Mr. Savage, wait. Yeah, so 8120. All right, I can just type in the match with it. And then my 145 and my 250. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to it. All right, stat. All right, we're going to calculate that linear regression. And we just want to enter down to calculate. And yes, that's the official answer that's there. So yeah, we can walk you through it there. So when we look at this here, I'm going to go back to my particular screen that's here. There we go. As we kind of make our way down, all right. The linear function in slope-intercept form. So we've got the y equals. If you look at your calculator, that a, remember, that is going to be your slope there, the way it's written out. So we'll just kind of round there to the hundredths, so 13.56x. And then for the y-intercept, plus 17.59. All right. So again, if we look up at the graph that you got, there's no way we could get that based off our scale of what we're working with. Now, there is something that we do want to make sure. Look at the R value. Now, some of you might have that on your calculator. Mine's not on there. All right. So if you're there, you're fine. Okay. Now, sometimes it does get turned off, so it is a worthwhile thing to look at. What we're going to end up doing is going down through this catalog that's down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to that second and that catalog. And then what we're going to end up looking for here, all right, we're going to be looking for a particular phrase, is making sure your diagnostics are on. So we can just kind of arrow on down, all right. It's in alphabetical order. So C, D, all right. Diagnostics off. Oh, I want the diagnostics on. So here we go. It's saying I want them on. So I'm going to hit enter, and it told me it did that. So if I go back to my stats, all right, I go back to my calc, I go back to my linear regression, enter, 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 calculate it there, and oh, I got R values now. Yay. Okay, so R squared is someone different. Okay, that's a different statistical category. So that, again, higher level math, yay. All right, we're just going to look at that plain old R. And do we see it how it has a 0.995? All right, so if I head on back over here, all right, 0.995. So this is what we refer to as the correlation coefficient. It's letting you know if it has a strong correlation. If you're closer to a positive one or a negative one, it's a strong. Remember, we could have positive correlations, we could have negative correlations. So since our graph was going up, 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 and up, that is a positive. So if you're close to 1, and oh my goodness, think of it like a test grade. And you change that to a percent, that's a 99.5, all right? That is really strong, that's there. So that lets me know is my equation is going to be a very good predictor of what can end up happening here. So in 32 days, so what we can just simply do is, again, X was our days, we can just plug in the 32 into your calculator, type it out, and we're going to get a strong prediction. Again, that's just a clickety clack, so that's going to give us right around 451 sit-ups. In the 120 days, we'll do the exact same thing all over again, but this time we'll plug in the 120 for your X, and you type that all into your calculator, and that's going to give you right around 1,644 that we're looking at. So, yeah, again, it'll take the data and then it'll give you the slope intercept form instead of you trying to draw your line and then reading your graph. It's just going to give you a much better, a much more accurate fit that you're dealing with. All right. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the second page. All right. You're going to try what we just did. Now, say no thank you to the plotting that's there. We're going to kind of, I'm not going to be interested in that with this particular question. What I am heavily interested in is when you type it in, and we're going to tell you, yes, there's a correlation that's there, but it's not going to be a very strong correlation that's there, all right? I'm interested in what you're going to come up with. So I do want you to type it in, and then we'll talk about it the next particular day. And I also want you to look at the R value that's there. And what you're going to see is it's not as strong as it was before. And what that would match up with is that if we did look at your graph up top where we plotted those points at, you're going to look at those plots and be like, I guess I see a little bit, but the data kind of looks like it's all over the place, but not that bad. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. So think about a grade on a test. When your R value, if that comes back, I think what you're going to say is, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's not like I failed the test. At the same time, I'm not racing home to mom and dad to put that on the refrigerator. I don't know. Do you kids do that anymore? That was always the big thing as a kid. That's there. Anyway, maybe you do, maybe you don't. We can talk about that later on. Anyway, try that on out. get me the R value that's there, and then hit the brakes right there. I know you've got yourself another problem as well, but leave that one alone. That's one we can get into later on. So try it out. Let's see what you can do. We'll see you later.